Hi, and welcome to the Keys Please podcast.
A podcast about the perks and perils of first home buying.
I'm Maddie, a psychology student and compulsive planner.
And I'm Tom, a maths student and definitely not a compulsive planner.
In today's episode, we are going to be discussing the pros and cons of living with others. So, welcome to episode 11. Episode 3 of 2020. I think we're really grinding them out. Yep.
Yeah.
Third episode in 2 weeks.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, so basically, as I said, we're going to look at some of the pros and the cons of shared living, or like housemates, basically.
Yeah.
But firstly, I wanted to touch on a point from last week's episode, it was last week, so I can say last week's episode.
Yes.
We did record it last week, so... Yeah. From last week's episode, we talked about auctioneers and how, we were talking about online auctions and how they had gone better than expected. And I was just talking about how I can kind of see how that would happen because auctioneers are very, lively and kind of scary a little bit. And I would be, a bit fearful of that, and I prefer online auctions. Well, I found an article that kind of disagrees and says auctioneers are very deliberate in the way that they...
I disagree with this article.
choose to go about it. They deliberately create a sense of urgency. They profit off of FOMO. So you've got to get in or you're going to miss out kind of observation. So anyway, I'll link that article. It also has 4 other things that auctioneers do to make you bid more.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can figure them out and try and psychoanalyze auctioneers.
Yeah, love it.
I'll link that on the blog post.
I still feel like that's not conclusive evidence. Just
No.
because there are some things that they do to make you...
But it is
more...
deliberate, and it probably does work for 90% of people. But I do believe that there are some people that would be put off by it.
Yeah.
I think obviously individual differences matter, but I feel like there is, you argued that it's probably just what they've always done last week. And I think it does legitimately produce results. So, in at least most people.
Maybe what we're seeing is just the online auctions that are happening at the moment. All these people who are introverted, like you, and the sort of the auctioneers are kind of too extreme for them, or too...
Yeah, maybe, and they're the people, the introverts with money, are now getting in
coming out.
They're
this
coming
is
out
my
of the
time
woodwork
to buy the house, and that's why they're online.
I love that idea.
Well. Yeah.
Anyway, so on to the topic. What are your thoughts on share housing or having housemates, flatmates, whatever you call them?
Yeah, no, I think good thing.
Overall good.
Overall good. I mean, it's definitely a good way to save money. I think. If you can get a place by yourself, you might be paying up to twice as much versus if you're staying with a bunch of people and sharing. Obviously, there can be downsides.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think overall it's a good thing.
Yeah. Would you consider share housing with people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely would consider share housing.
And while we're on this topic of what you think of share housing, next week's topic is going to be on whether you should share house with strangers or friends. What do you reckon you would pick?
I mean, I'd pick friends, but I'd probably do it with strangers too, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. You're quite easy either way.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Obviously, I prefer to live with my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure.
But you could live with strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
I am positive. I'm pro share housing.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I think I'd like to do it. Probably not for good reasons. I don't know if my reasons are good.
What are your reasons?
Okay, so I kind of want to just get the vibe that's on some TV shows where everyone's living with people they know. I just want that to be my life for 2 years.
You just want your life to be on Friends?
Yeah, basically. I want it to be Friends.
That's interesting because I've heard someone say they have a theory for why everyone loved Friends is that and why people still like it today is that it sort of captures a time in your life where your friends are really your family and not your actual family.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And it's a kind of a period of life where entering into in your 20s when you're moving out home and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that kind of was confirmed in a book that I'm reading called The Defining Decade.
Oh, yeah.
It's about... I love the book.
Yeah, not surprised it's getting a plug.
It's by Meg J. I think she's a clinical psychologist and has a PhD. So, yeah, basically she calls it your urban tribe, which is the people you get around within your 20s. And
Does she reference Friends, the TV show?
No, she doesn't, but she does. I love the concept of the urban tribe, but basically that's just like when your friends are more like your family. She doesn't love the urban tribe in the book. She thinks, she likes it. She thinks that it's useful and it's helpful for when you're in your 20s, but she thinks that people hold on to the urban tribe so much that they almost don't want to get into a serious relationship because it's like then they have to leave. For some people they have to leave the urban tribe. For us, our urban tribe is kind of around our relationship, so it's fine. But, you know, I could see how other people would feel like they were missing out on, like, being part of their urban tribe if they're instead going on dates or something.
Yeah.
Rather than hanging out with their urban tribe, so...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's interesting. Anyway, I went on a bit of a tangent about my book, but it is good.
Okay.
Would recommend. So I also looked into why people have share houses, and you're right, it is mainly about saving money. So a survey by flatmates.com.au, which is an Australian website for people looking for rooms and for people looking for people to go in their rooms as well. Yeah. So in this survey, 52% of participants said they share as they can't afford to rent by themselves, and 21% said they shared to save money. 55% would like to buy their own house at some point. 73% said they can't afford rent by themselves. But interestingly, this survey also said that 52% of these 73% said that they would order food delivery at least once a week, and 20% would order 2 to 3 times a week. So the article was basically just roasting these people for, like, ordering takeaway. But, you know, I'm not going to do that. I think... Yep, you order your takeaway. That's fair enough. But, like, obviously...
Yeah, no, I think, like, there's a different, like... It costs way more to live by yourself there, like, every week versus ordering takeaway at once a week.
If you're ordering takeaway 3 times a week, that's, like... that could be, like... But depending on where you're ordering it from, it could be, like, $20 per takeaway.
Okay, yeah, I guess it could almost be... Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this article was just saying...
It's still going to be cheaper, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, it depends. If you want to live in a really, really bad unit by yourself, I feel like you could definitely find... like a unit that...
But then you may as well be living with other people because it's like...
It's better quality of life.
Better living anyway. Yeah. But those are some interesting statistics. Is that like... So 45% of people then don't want to buy their own home one day. That's what I'm that surprises me.
It doesn't surprise me. From what I've read about, especially our generation, we basically want to rent and move around a lot. That's what I've read. And like people don't really... like buying a house is kind of going out of fashion because with more people wanting to be flexible. I don't know if that's going to be influenced by this like pandemic, like whether like we said we weren't going to talk about it, but like I don't know, it is interesting to think about that people might end up settling down more. Like I feel like it was really global, but maybe because of this people will become less likely to want to like travel around and live in different places and stuff, just because I mean obviously this affected a lot of people, so no, I think given that we showed that like renting can probably be like as long as you're like staying there for like less than 7 years, renting's probably fine. As long as you're like still saving money and putting it into like investing and stuff. You can't just rent and then just use all your like other money. That's really important because the whole point of like having a mortgage, well not the whole point, having a mortgage is so that you can live in a house, but a benefit of having a mortgage is it forces you to save money. So, but like, I don't know, I'm still in the category of the 55% that would like to own my own home. I don't think. Even though I know that like our generation prefers not to, I eventually want to, I think. Do you think when people like get older, they like say they're more likely to want to own their own home though? Yeah, definitely. I think the kinds of people that are living in share houses probably, like, that doesn't say... Like, I don't think 55% will own their home. I think more than 55% will own a home. And they'll will want to own a home later. But, like, right now, that's how it is.
Because they don't know what they're going to want in 20 years, but they, like, actually will want that.
Yeah. Well, it's just capturing, like, the age group that tends to share house. Yeah. And, they probably are not thinking about that right now. We're an outlier. Yeah. So, the survey also went on to the topic of who do people, like, live with. And so 47% of flatmates think strangers make the best housemates. So it's basically half and half, like, divided.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thoughts?
I don't know, it makes sense, I guess. I guess, like, some people, don't really have appropriate friends to share with, maybe. Like,
oh, whoa.
Like, obviously, like, you have to think about the types of people. And, like, we're going to have, like, further episodes on this. Like, share housing, I've decided, is going to be, like, a theme for the next, like, 4 episodes or something. So the next episode is going to go into depth on whether you should live with friends or strangers. And then the episode after that, it's going to be more like, how should you find your roommates? Like, what are the questions to ask, regardless of whether they're friends or strangers? It's important to ask, like, questions so that you know what you're getting yourself into, because leases can be, like, at least a year long. So, I mean, sometimes you get 6-month leases, but usually they're for a year.
Yeah, or if they just leave.
Yeah, you're committing to something. You need to make sure you have all the information.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd also, like, talk about some useful websites for share housing. So there's one specific to South Australia, which is called Shared Living SA. And it's a website that helps people find rooms and shared living accommodation, as well as advertise their own, like, rooms and stuff. And Flatmates lets you try and find, like, a house, like a share house, so that you can move in with anyone that you have already found to move in with you. Or you can just find a room in an existing share house. And Emily Hutchinson is, like, an Australian, like, shared living advocate. Like, she's found her niche in, like, shared living. I actually found her, I was listening to My Millennial Money, this, like, podcast, and this was early last year, I think. They did a episode on shared living, and she was on there. We're not famous enough to have her on ours, but like,
what will we say?
Yeah, like, hopefully in the future we can have another one on shared living and she can come and be interviewed.
Yeah.
But she has an Instagram that has that shares interior design of different shared living houses, which is kind of funny. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So that's at Shared Living. Yeah. And she's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love, like, the idea of, like, designing a place with, like, looks like you can sort of, like, get, like, your space, my space. And, like, spaces that we both use and stuff.
Yeah. And, like, weirdly, I love how ugly shared houses can be. Like, I think we've talked about this.
You have a aesthetic for ugly houses.
No, I don't actually want to live in one. Like, when
You don't want to buy one.
No, I don't want to buy one. I just want to live in one and have, like, the, like, uni student aesthetic where you're, like, your house is trash. Like, it's clean, but it looks really 70s and, like, kind of ugly. Yeah. But, like, it's clean. I don't mean, like, cluttered or dirty. Yeah. I just mean, like, I love, I don't know, the weird things. Like, we were looking at potential shared houses the other day, Tom and I were. Yeah. And we found this house with, like, this weird, like, Mexican statue. It's not like a Mexican cultural statue. It was literally a statue of a little Mexican, like, with a sombrero.
Sombrero, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It was a bit like, is this racist? I don't know. Why?
It was mostly weird and a little bit, like, questionably, like, culturally insensitive.
Yeah, I don't know. It was confusing. But, like, okay, so maybe I wouldn't want that, but it was really funny. Like, it was so funny. It was, like, looking into all of the rooms and, like...
You're lying. You do want that. And, like, all the photos on realestate.com, all of them had... All the Mexican guy. Outside ones, I have the Mexican
Like, they
guy.
were really proud of their Mexican man. And, like, I kind of loved it. I loved the... Yeah. So, like, That's kind of what I want. I want the weird traditions that you'd have with like your flatmates, or like the weird like random things in the house that no one knows why it's there, but it's there, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that would just make life a little bit more